Huracan Spyder has always allured me. It looks gorgeous with the top down, but with the top up, well, it doesn't. It weighs 250 pounds more than the coupe, but you get the wind in your hair and you can hear that beautiful 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V10. So what is it like to drive? That's what I'm here to find out. So I met Nick, the founder of Paige, when I was filming a video with the Stradman, and he owns this Huracan Spyder, and I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to do a comparison test between the Spyder and the coupe. Lamborghini's term for soft-top convertible are the Spyder models, Gallardo Spyder, Huracan Spyder, etc. Now the V12 variants are roadsters. Those usually have carbon fiber tops in the case of the Aventador, and you have to manually remove it. Now this is more of a pain, it takes longer, but it looks a lot better. The soft-top convertibles, to put it bluntly, are kind of ugly, but with the top down, the lines are absolutely stunning. The nice part about the convertible is they made it very convenient. What do I mean by that? Well, the convertible top can be retracted or put back up in just 17 seconds, and you can do so at up to 31 miles per hour. So that means no longer are you stuck at a red light having to stay still when it turns green because the soft top won't go back down when you're moving. Nope, you can do it up to 31 miles per hour. 17 seconds goes by a lot quicker than you think. There are some downsides, of course. It's 10% less rigid than the Huracan coupe, although unless you're the Stig, there's really no way you're going to be able to tell that. But it does weigh 250 pounds more. That's the most significant difference. So if you're really into hardcore performance, you probably wouldn't be looking at a convertible anyways, but it is a little bit slower. Motor Trend tested it to 60 miles an hour in 2.8 seconds versus the coupe, which did it in 2.5, both of which blisteringly fast. Another performance difference between the Huracan and the Huracan Spyder is its top speed. Now, unless you're crazy or you're on the Autobahn, it's not really going to matter. But the top speed of the Huracan Spyder with the top down is 201 miles per hour. The Huracan coupe, 211. So if you can't live with that 10 mile per hour difference, then, well, good for you. That's pretty badass. But if you can, the Spyder would be a crazy experience at over 200 with the top down. Now you'd think, Spyder, it's going to be noisy in here. Can you even have a conversation with people when you're ripping along on the freeway? Well, Lamborghini did a fantastic job at reducing turbulence in the interior of the cabin. They've got these tabs that aren't currently mounted to the left and to the right of the headrests that are able to reduce that turbulence and make the airflow more calm in the cabin so you can have a comfortable conversation with your passenger at speeds up to 65, 70 miles an hour, no problem. Of course, one of the best parts of the Spyder is the fact that you get the open top experience and that you get to hear that beautiful sounding naturally aspirated V10 that makes 602 horsepower. Let's drop the top, shall we? Easy enough. With the top down, the exhaust is a lot louder. And the good news is, unlike a lot of convertibles, the top of the windshield is high enough up to where you can actually see forward. Typically, a problem with taller drivers is that with convertible cars, they're staring straight into the top of the windshield and they can't see anything at all. That is not the case with the Huracan Spyder, although there are some issues if you are above 6'1". The single biggest downfall of the Huracan Spyder is that if you're above 6 foot, 6'1", you really should look at a different car. Now, why is that? Well, because of the mechanism required to retract the soft top, the interior cabin is actually 2 inches shorter than the coupe is. Furthermore, to reduce squeaking, because the back of the seat is made of leather and so is the backing here, the seat can't go all the way back. So it's 2 inches shorter, and they also reduce the amount of movement that the seat can make in the Spyder, and that means that if you're tall, it's incredibly uncomfortable in here. It feels a lot smaller than the coupe inside. Now, if you're a smaller driver, by all means, it won't be a problem at all. If you're anything like what Lamborghini is building these cars for, or a future F1 racer, then, well, 1, I wish I was you, and 2, you're all set for the Huracan Spyder. In terms of driving dynamics, there is no way you can tell the difference between this and the coupe on the road. There's no twisting of the chassis. The chassis is made of carbon fiber and aluminum. It's both very stiff and lightweight. Now, the dry weight of the Huracan Coupe is 3,150 pounds, and Lamborghini claims the dry weight of this is 3,400. Still light, but not super, super light. Definitely a couple 100 pounds heavier than something like the McLaren 650S Spyder. Now, this car is equipped with Lamborghini's optional dynamic steering, which has gotten a lot of negative press from auto journalists around the world. It reduces the steering feel a little bit, makes it feel a little more video game-like. But honestly, the initial turn-in requires less effort and less rotation of the steering wheel to get the car to go around the corner. And that makes it feel more nimble than it is. And it actually makes the car feel lighter than a Huracan Coupe without the Lamborghini dynamic steering because of that steering feel. Would I get the car with this option? Well, depends on the use for the car. I think it makes sense in the Spyder because are you really going to be tracking a convertible? Probably not. In the Coupe, go with the normal steering. You save some money and you get a little bit more feedback out of the wheel. Now, this wheel is wrapped in nice leather as opposed to on the Huracan Coupe that I have, it's Alcantara on the side. The Alcantara wears out really easily, and it's also more slippery. When you drive aggressively, your hands tend to sweat. It's not like you're going to be using driving gloves on the street. Once again, if you are, kudos to you. Leather is definitely the way to go. There's also gloss black on the steering wheel. It makes the trim look very, very nice. The rest of the interior, basically identical to the Huracan Coupe. The seats, very, very comfortable for about 3 to 3.5 hours. After that, if you're doing a very long road trip, you got to get out and stretch because your back is going to start hurting. Headroom. So the seat is all the way down and my head is touching the soft top. Obviously not an issue if you drive at all times with the convertible top down, but there's going to be times where you're either caught in the rain or don't want to deal with the wind, or it's just cold out where you want the Huracan top up. So if you have, well, a large hairdo or are above 6 foot, that's probably going to annoy you. I think it's actually illegal to review a Huracan without doing at least one launch control. So we're going to make sure that happens because we don't want to break any laws here on Vehicle Virgins. Blind spots are horrible. It's really convenient on a road where the cars are going 50 miles an hour sideways and you're worried about getting T-boned. Yeah, this area right here, because of the convertible, you don't have that extra window over the side past the B-pillar. It makes it really hard to see anything. In fact, I'm actually going to turn around and give up because there is no chance I can actually make this. All right, how about launch control, shall we? Corsa, ESC off, floor the brake, floor the gas. Feels a tad bit slower than the Coupe, but that launches extremely hard. No drama, no wheel spin off the line, 4,500 RPMs, bam, and it launches you forward. Now, something a lot of people don't know, Corsa mode, when you're in it normally and you're shifting manually, will not shift for you. So if you bang it into the rev limiter, you could say goodbye to your engine if you do it enough times. However, when you turn ESC off and you activate launch control, it will actually do all the shifts for you. So if you own a Huracan or you're about to own a Huracan because you're watching this video, if you do launch control, it will shift for you. That is really awesome. Now in sport mode, it always automatically shifts for you. I like sport mode for a couple of reasons. One, the shifts are a lot smoother. Now this seems counterintuitive to Lamborghini ownership. Don't you want the shifts to be brutal? Well, if you're on a racetrack, having the really smooth shifts actually makes the experience more fun because you can be shifting when the car is slightly off balance. Now this is for amateurs. You're obviously supposed to be shifting in a straight line ideally, but you never know. Things don't always work out as planned. The other thing is, the car has a 60-40 power split between the front and the rear. When you put it into Corsa mode, it's 25% in the front and 75% in the rear. When you put it into sport mode, it's 15% in the front and 85% in the rear. So you're almost driving a rear-wheel drive car with that extra benefit of having the front wheels to save you. You really don't understeer in this car whatsoever unless you're very much at the limit, but if traction's off and you give it a little bit more throttle, you're not gonna understeer. You can pop oversteer very easily. Sport mode also, now this is just anecdotal, appears to crackle more than Corsa does. And well, if you're doing a highway roll race, you can't lose when the car shifts itself. Oh, that sounds good as the exhaust bounces off the rocks. So what is the Huracan Spyder like to drive? Well, every bit as good as the Huracan Coupe if you are small. If you are a bigger person, I would avoid the Huracan Spyder for sure. But that open top experience, listening to that V10, man, this thing handles well and puts the power down just magnificently. There are two main gripes I have with the Huracan. Now, this is not related to the Spyder whatsoever. One is that if you're using the front lift, mandatory option. If you're looking to buy a Huracan, please get the front lift, otherwise you will scrape everywhere. The front lift activates really quickly, it's super convenient, just one click of a button. The same thing cannot be said about McLarens. But if you need to use the front lift to get into your garage and you have a passenger who hasn't been in your car before or is not really thinking about it, if you're lowering the lift while you're in your garage and somebody opens the door, like a passenger, very normal thing to do, the front lift stops and then goes back up. Lamborghini, I would love it if you would fix this. If you have a girl in the car and you're lowering the lift back down and she opens the door and then you have to tell her, hey, can you actually shut the door and get back in again so that I can lower the car down because I can't leave the lift up on my Lamborghini because that's not good for the lift system. Yeah, you look like an idiot. Another thing, the screens. Now, my favorite screen mode is the full screen tachometer. You can also press and hold the up arrow, which turns it into a speedometer. But then it has the RPMs in numbers with no red line, so if you're in Corsa mode, it's very scary. You got giri per min, though. I like how a lot of the text in this car is Italian. But anyways, there's three screens. One is a split screen where you can see the tachometer and then the radio settings on the right. One is a full screen for your information, like navigation, so on and so forth. Then you can barely see how fast you're going. And then the best screen is the full tachometer. But when it starts up, it always starts up in that split screen mode. If there could be a program where it could fire up right into that full tachometer mode, or maybe just have a pre-programmed setting where when you turn it on, it fires up in sport mode, it fires up with traction control off, and you've got the right tachometer, that'd make the Huracan just a little bit better. So before we wrap this up, special thanks to Chris, the founder of Paige, for providing me with this Huracan. Now, Paige is a very cool new app where you can basically create a portfolio for all your cars and share those cars with other people. So I've created a Paige profile. I've got my M5 on there, my S-Class, my Huracan, and even my very first car, which a lot of you probably don't know about. So click the link in the description below to head to my profile and find out what I had as my first car. It is awesome. It's a great way to build a community amongst all of us car guys. Seriously, it's worth a look. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video.